The holidays are some of the most wasteful times of the year, but it doesn't have to be that way. And most of this waste comes from food waste. So instead of throwing it away at the end of your holiday meal, I'm teaming up with my friend Kelly from Made to Sustain to give you some ways to revamp this food waste, or rather these leftovers. So we're going to go into 10 ways that you can specifically reuse your holiday leftovers to prevent food waste, not only for Thanksgiving, but for Christmas and any other holidays you have throughout the year. Plus, we might as well use what we buy. This is just a waste of money to throw this stuff away. So let's dive into these food waste fighting recipes that will save you money and save the planet. Hello everyone, it's Emma and welcome back to my channel where we talk about all sorts of things zero waste, focusing on free, easy, and fun ways to live low waste and practical ways to be an activist. And of course, we're always going to talk about food waste. My first idea is to reuse your apple scraps from making apple pie to make apple scrap vinegar. I do this every year, and it lasts me throughout the entire year, and I'm always excited to make it again on Thanksgiving or near Thanksgiving. It's pretty similar to apple cider vinegar, but the main difference is that we're using sugar to make apple scrap vinegar, and with apple cider vinegar, it's kind of like sourdough. There's like a mother starter, and then you reuse that to make the vinegar over and over again. So it's not going to be quite as bacterial, if you will, but it'll still get the job done, and it'll have a very similar flavor profile. All you need is your scraps in a large, clean jar. Next, you're going to want to fill it with water, but make sure you measure because we're going to need that measurement later. But you're going to want your apple scraps submerged in water, not totally like, if your apple scraps are only taking up half of the jar, you don't need to fill your jar up to the top, just enough to cover the apple scraps. For me, after using, we use between 5 and 7 apples for apple pie, we typically use around 2 cups of water to cover them. And of course, this will depend on the size of your jar as well. After that, you'll need 1 tablespoon of sugar for every cup of water you used. So if you use 2 cups of water, you'll need 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2.5 cups of water, 2.5 tablespoons of sugar, and so forth. Add that all to the jar and give it a good mix with a wooden or a plastic spoon. You want to avoid metal if possible. Metal is kind of the enemy of fermentation, so stick to glass, plastic, or wood if you can. Then you're going to want to cover your jar with a paper towel, secure it with a rubber band, and leave it in a cool, dark place for about 4 weeks. Now, this will also depend on what flavor you want. If you want it to be really, really sour and tart, let it go a little bit longer than 4 weeks. If you want it on the milder side, let it go a little bit less than 4 weeks. You might just have to taste it as you go until you get the desired taste.
The first one we're going to start with is mashed potatoes, and mashed potatoes are one of those things that are on every single Thanksgiving table. They're a classic. They go with everything, but they serve a lot and they make a lot, but you're always going to end up with some left over. So I'm going to show you how to make these mashed potatoes into mashed potato pancakes. So we're just going to mash it up. But the goal here is to get them a little bit drier so that they stay together. I'm going to add 2 eggs and some salt and a little flour. I'm actually going to add 1 more tablespoon of flour. If you're gluten-free, you can use cornstarch. And that's our batter.
Next, let's talk about how to use leftover bread rolls. Now, I don't know about you, but I will eat plain bread rolls all day, every day, but if you don't want to eat plain bread rolls, let's make bread pudding. Now, I don't have a recipe for bread pudding. I just follow whatever recipe I find on Pinterest, and I encourage you to do the same, whatever works for you. You can find a vegan one, a non-vegan one, whatever works for your dietary restrictions. But this is my favorite way to reuse any sort of stale or going bad bread. You can use regular loaf bread, buns. I love this because it can be eaten as breakfast or dessert, and you can flavor it exactly how you want. If you want it on the sweet side, if you want it to be like cinnamon, like kind of like pumpkin spice or chai flavored, you could add toppings like raisins and nuts. It's really, really versatile. I'll leave my favorite recipe from Connoissaurus Veg down below.
The next one we're going to look at is a cranberry sauce, and cranberry sauce is really one of those things that's polarizing. You either love it or you hate it. In my family, we really love it, and the great thing about cranberry sauce is that it's really the only acidic thing on your table on Thanksgiving, so it really helps create a variation between the flavor on all your foods. If you like cranberry sauce, you might just want to eat it as is with all of your Thanksgiving leftovers, maybe put it on a sandwich. But if you're not a big fan of it, what you can do is make it into a sauce or a salad dressing. I'm going to show you how to make a sauce right now, but if you want to make it into a salad dressing, I'll give you some tips for that too.
Let's talk about how we can reuse biscuits that's not in bread pudding, because I'm not sure that texture would work out very well. We're instead going to use them to make croutons. And really, you can make croutons with your rolls as well. But again, croutons are a very, very versatile food that you can add to soups, salads, or even just munch on as a snack. And it'll preserve your biscuits or whatever sort of bread you want for a long time, since you're going to bring all the moisture out of that bread. So all you're gonna need is your bread of choice, and then cut it up into little dices and then lay it out on a baking tray. I like to use one with walls on it just so nothing falls off. Then you want to drizzle with your fat of choice. You can use olive oil, vegetable oil, butter, and then give it a quick toss with tongs or your hands. And then you can season it however you want. If you just want to go basic with some salt, that works. I highly recommend at least salt. But if you want to go very fancy, like Italian style, you could add oregano, basil. If you wanted to do like holiday themed, you could do rosemary. You also can never really go wrong with garlic and onion either. Then you want to bake at 300 degrees for about 20 minutes until they're golden brown. If they're not golden brown, let them go a little bit longer. Keep tossing them so that they get evenly cooked as well. Now at this point, if they are starting to get too brown, but they're not fully dried out yet, you'll want to turn your temperature down because you want them to be completely free of moisture, completely dehydrated, so that they can be shelf stable as long as possible. And also remember that they will firm up as they cool. So if they're a little bit squishy to the touch, take one out of the oven, let it cool on the countertop, see if it's crispy. If it is, you can pull the rest of them out. If not, let it keep going. And then you can store in an airtight container and use as you want.
So a few things you can do with leftover macaroni and cheese. You could pair it with some vegan barbecue jackfruit. I actually made a recipe for that. I'll put that on the link below that you can check that out. Or you can fry them into mac and cheese bites. So all you need to do for that is you take the mac and cheese, you clump them together. Depends how you're serving it, right? If it's conventional mac and cheese, you can make an egg and batter mixture, coat it, and then deep fry it. Or if it's vegan, you can use plant-based milk and a coating and do it that way with some aquafaba. And same practice, just mold them together and fry them. So they're really tasty that way. Some people like them, some people don't like them. To me, they're a little bit too indulgent for my liking. I'd rather just eat mac and cheese as is, but it's a great way to use up some of your Thanksgiving leftovers if you're just, have too much mac and cheese and you don't know what to do with it.
This wouldn't be a Thanksgiving food waste video if we didn't talk about the infamous Thanksgiving leftover sandwich. You don't have to put every single leftover on a sandwich. That can get messy and potentially gross. Here's how I would build my perfect leftover sandwich. I would start with a roll or a biscuit, whatever we have left over, cut it in half. And then for the bottom bun, I'm gonna pick a sauce. You can either do gravy, cranberry sauce, you can do classic butter. If you do like a fancy garlic butter, you can do that as well. Next step, add your protein on top of that, whether you guys do ham, turkey, or a vegan roast. No sandwich is complete without a vegetable. This could be a Thanksgiving vegetable if you had roasted Brussels sprouts, if you had green bean casserole, if you had like other sort of roasted veggies like potatoes and carrots. Even if you don't have leftover Thanksgiving vegetables, I highly encourage you to add a vegetable anyway, just for some texture, some flavor, of course, nutrition. Next, get crazy and add a second carb to your sandwich. This could be mashed potatoes, scalloped potatoes. This could be stuffing. Of course, if that's too much for you, maybe it's a textural nightmare like it would be for me, you can skip this one. And then we're gonna add some more sauce on top. Again, only if you're feeling like it. Go back to, the classic gravy, cranberry sauce, or just add some butter. You could also add something that maybe wasn't on the Thanksgiving menu, like mayonnaise. Italian dressing might be okay. What else? Hot sauce if you're feeling spicy. And then add your top bun and you're ready to enjoy. Again, my biggest tip here is don't overdo it. Don't feel like you need to put every single piece of leftovers on your sandwich. That could just really go overboard. And instead, since we're making them on rolls or biscuits, you could just make several little sandwiches, all with different flavors.
Pumpkin pie and apple pie are two things universally on every Thanksgiving table. But one thing that happens with my family especially is you fill up on all of the entrees and the sides and the appetizers and everything delicious, that by the time dessert comes around, you don't have much room left to fill up on dessert. So my family's always left with a bunch of pie, and what do you do with a half a pie when you don't feel like eating pie anymore? Here's an idea for you. So you can make a pumpkin pie or an apple pie. You can turn it into a milkshake. Likely you've got ice cream in the freezer for apple pie or pumpkin pie a la mode. That means ice cream on the side. And that's a great thing to do. But one thing that you can do with that is you can just make milkshakes or turn it into an apple pie ice cream. So I've seen lots of things at the store. I was at the grocery store the other day, and two women were there and they were getting so excited about apple pie flavored Ben & Jerry's ice cream, but you can do that at your own house too. So I'm going to show you how to make that with just a blender, and it should be really easy to make and really delicious to enjoy. And you can do this with non-dairy ice cream or regular ice cream, really whatever you prefer.
My last food waste tip for the day is to make a Thanksgiving breakfast sandwich. No, this isn't exactly what we just talked about. This is gonna be a different sandwich. I got inspired by this when I went out with my friend to a cafe and she ordered a turkey breakfast sandwich. And I'm like, wait, That's a really good idea for post-Thanksgiving. Obviously, the only thing you're really going to be reusing here is the turkey. You could remake this on a roll or a biscuit to reuse the bread as well. But the star of this show is gonna be the turkey or a vegan roast if you have that. So pick your breakfast bread of choice. Again, you could use a roll or a biscuit. You could do bagel, English muffin, regular toast. Then you're going to add your turkey or your vegan roast. Next is to add some sort of egg, however you like it cooked, and vegan or not vegan. Then pick a sauce of choice. I believe the cafe used a garlic aioli, which sounded very fancy, but you could also just use garlic butter, mayonnaise, sriracha mayo, hot sauce. Hot sauce would be pretty good. Pesto would probably be really good. You could also add a slice of cheese and take it a step further and add some veggies like tomato, avocado, pickled onion, pepper, whatever you feel like to really just jazz up this sandwich and take it to the next level.
This last one, I am so excited to show you. We're gonna make stuffing waffles. And in my house, there's always stuffing left over and there's always just a little bit, but it's always an odd amount. So what you're gonna do, if you don't feel like eating stuffing, if it's gotten too soggy over the past couple days sitting in the refrigerator, what you can do is turn this into waffles. All you need is your stuffing and your waffle iron, and you really don't need anything else in between. It's gonna be super easy and you're gonna love it. Use some of your leftovers together. You can take your stuffing waffles and pair them with your cranberry sauce that you just made, and it's gonna be divine, I promise. You're gonna put them together, you're gonna dip, you're gonna enjoy, they're gonna be crispy, they're gonna be fatty, they're gonna be comforting, and everything you could ever want and more. Make you dream of Thanksgiving all over again.
That's it. Those are my ways to have a more sustainable post-Thanksgiving and make sure that you're eating all of your leftovers. I hope you enjoyed these 10 easy ways to reduce food waste this holiday season. And if you want more ways to have an eco-friendly holiday season throughout the next few months, you can check out my full holiday playlist down below. Again, don't forget to go check out Kelly's video as well as her blog post with the full recipes on them. Both of those will be linked down below as well. Thanks again, Kelly, for doing this video with me. This was so much fun. If you want me to do more collabs, let me know who I should collab with next. And as always, remember that your small actions make a big difference in the long run. I hope you guys are having a good and happy holiday season. Bye, guys.